Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Gourmet, also known as The Grand Chef, a Korean television series from 2008. Sung-chan is a happy and bright young man who loves to cook. Leaving the heavy responsibility of becoming the head chef of a famous restaurant to his stepbrother, he explores the world of cooking and discovers that he's actually good at it. When the owner announces that he will not choose his own son to become the new owner and head chef, cold-hearted jealousy and competition arise for the spot. So yes, this is another one of those K-dramas that revolves around cooking and delicious foods. So it's right up my alley. I think this is the first Korean television series that I saw with this kind of premise. I remember watching it about a decade ago, and it single-handedly got me interested in Korean cuisine. So since the focus here is on Korean foods, it's a pretty neat experience for those of us who do not live in that country, because the script goes into a lot of detail. I felt like I learned some things while watching this show, like how cows should be treated, how charcoal is produced, and how salt farms are managed. So it's not just that you learn more stuff about Korean cuisine specifically, but you learn stuff about just food in general, which is pretty neat. They showcase a mix of like high-end and common foods, because the restaurant is kind of a fancy restaurant, but they also focus on like, cheaper food options as well. So you get a mix of both, which is nice. And in all cases, the amount of effort that is placed on creating these dishes from scratch is fun to see. For example, the main restaurant in the show has hundreds of earthenware vessels. They're like big, almost like urns type things. And they have all kinds of sausage that mature on site, like over years of time, which is pretty neat. There are a lot of food-based challenges and mysteries that incorporate a variety of interesting elements like taste tests, fermentation, global cuisine fusion, butchery, public relations, and of course food preparation. And this all occurs within the context of this business rivalry that's going on, which provides a very engaging experience. When Gourmet is at its best, it's extremely entertaining. Like the 5-episode long beef competition subplot is just awesome. That's a highlight. I will say, however, that I noticed a few additional flaws during this recent second viewing of this show. The show is 24 episodes long, which creates a small handful of filler episodes. I'm thinking specifically about episodes like 15 to 18, which at times throw in some unearned melodrama with some minor side characters that show up. A few of those episodes I wasn't really too fond of. They probably could have shortened the show from 24 episodes down to 20 episodes fairly easily, in my opinion. There's also one fairly annoying side character. You'll know who he is because he's an adult person who constantly whines and acts like a child all the time. And he's one of the protagonist's assistants, which is, that's not good. Not a huge problem because they don't focus on him too much, but I did not like that character much at all. Very, very annoying guy. So those are really the two flaws that kind of come to mind for the show. But the good stuff definitely outweighs the bad. In addition to all of the food porn that we get, is one way to describe it, you get a feel for the main conflict. Right from the opening episode. The older son, Bong-ju, wants to cut costs at the restaurant and expand rapidly, open new locations overseas. But his father wants to maintain the quality of the food above all else. And you see this dilemma come up a lot in this show. How do you expand a restaurant's business and profits while at the same time preserving the quality of the food? And there's a balance that needs to be maintained, and that's one of the main themes of the show. Most of the main characters are properly developed throughout the course of the show. Sung-chan, played by Rae-won Kim, is our male lead. He's the adopted son of the old man. He clashes with the older son, Bong-ju. And Sung-chan is probably the most basic main character of all the leads, but he provides a nice moral baseline for the show. Jin-soo, played by Sang-mi Nam, is our female lead. I really like this her performance in this. She did a great job of being likable and competent, despite her character's occasional klutziness. I liked how her journalism ethics were. They were kind of commendable, because she does befriend both sides of this business rivalry. And, she kind of gets in close with both of these guys, the older son and the stepson. And I think she does a pretty good job kind of balancing that, her character at least, and not getting too slimy. Because if you're a journalist and you know the secrets of two different business rivals, you could do some bad things with that. And she doesn't do anything bad with it intentionally, so I kind of like that. I liked her character. Bong-ju, played by Oh Jung-kwang, again, the older son of the restaurant owner, probably the most interesting character in the entire show. He's meant to be the opponent to our lead protagonist, but he's also complex enough to have positive and negative characteristics of his own. When he gets irritated and the situation gets bad for him and he does some immoral things, you could still understand where he's coming from, where his frustrations are. And I actually liked him, Bong-ju, even more than the main character, Sung-chan, in terms of, complexity and interestingness. Then we have Min-woo, played by Ki Jun-won, one of the head chefs in the restaurant. You'll recognize this actor because he was the slimy, incompetent brother from Jumong. So he plays a similar role here, and I think the same scriptwriter who did Jumong also did this show. So that's probably that's probably how he got the job for this role, is because they wanted to bring him in on it. He's really good in this role. I think his performance is better than his role and then his performance in Jumong. He feels like more of a mature character here, but he's still a constant backstabber, is looking out for himself, so he adds a little extra dynamic there. And then you get Joo-hee, played by So-yeon Kim, who's an executive at the restaurant. I think I watched this show first time around because of her, because I remember seeing her in Iris, and I really liked her in that show, so I looked for other shows with her in it, and that's probably what drew me to this the first time around. Very good performance by So-yeon Kim. Her character, though, maybe a little bit on the thin side in terms of development. She just kind of goes along for the ride with everyone else, you know what I mean? Instead of being a focal point or a driver of things that happen. By the end of the show, I did like her character, but I think the script could have used her more and done more with her. And then a special shout out goes to the badass butcher dude, who is awesome. They introduced this badass butcher during the middle episodes, and the dude is he's awesome. So I really liked him. So again, this show, I really like it. I really like Gourmet. It does have, a small handful of filler episodes you got to sit through, but overall, it's good stuff. And when it hits, it hits. Again, I haven't watched it in 10 years, and I still remembered a lot of details about this. Going through this a second time recently, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. So that's good. I think it's a memorable show, and that's half the battle right there. So do not watch it on an empty stomach, though, because you will be hungry while watching this. It's currently available on Viki.com, and you may be able to find a used DVD set floating around out there. I recently purchased one that you'll see in a future collection video update. So check out Gourmet. I think it's a good K-drama. And as always, I'll see you next time.